That's all it cost to watch the Cleveland Browns face the Minnesota Vikings. Cheaper than a cup of coffee, less than a fast food meal. And yet, thousands of seats sat empty. From the drone shots above, Cleveland Stadium didn't look like an NFL battleground. It looked like a ghost town dressed in orange. Row after row of untouched seats glowing beneath the lights, while the cameras zoomed in on silence. This wasn't just low attendance. This was rebellion. A fan base that finally said, enough. Because what started as another Sunday matchup turned into one of the most embarrassing moments in franchise history. Head coach Kevin Stefanski, once praised as a calm strategist, stood on the sidelines watching his dream collapse in real time, while the city he thought he knew sent a brutal message. No Sanders, no show. A rookie quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, had become the heartbeat of Cleveland. And when the team benched him, fans didn't argue. They vanished. But how did one player, barely out of college, spark a revolt powerful enough to shake an entire NFL organization? How did Cleveland go from preseason promise to the biggest attendance disaster in modern football? And could this meltdown cost Stefanski not just his job, but the very soul of the franchise? Because this isn't just a story about football. It's about pride, ego, and a silent protest that screamed louder than any crowd ever could. Welcome to the Browns. $6 catastrophe, where loyalty met its breaking point, and the modern NFL learned that fans now hold the whistle. $6. That number became a punchline across the sports world, echoing through social media feeds and talk shows like a bad joke. But for Cleveland fans, it wasn't funny. It was humiliating. A franchise that once prided itself on die-hard loyalty had reached the point where even pocket change couldn't fill the seats. The images were brutal. Wide shots revealing orange rows stretching endlessly. Not fans cheering, just empty plastic staring back at the camera. Reporters tried to downplay it at first. It's just preseason, they said. It's the weather, others argued. But anyone who's followed the Browns knew better. This wasn't random apathy, it was rebellion. The city's silence spoke louder than any chant, and the message was simple. You benched Shedeur Sanders. We're done watching. Inside the stadium, the energy was eerie. The usual roar replaced by scattered claps and awkward echoes bouncing off concrete. Even stadium staff looked restless, moving through half-empty aisles with forced smiles and free giveaways that nobody wanted. Concession lines were short, merchandise stands untouched. Everything screamed abandonment. By kickoff, ticket sites were still flooded with unsold seats. $6 deals, buy one, get one free offers. Even last-minute upgrades just to make the place look less hollow. None of it worked. Even die-hard season ticket holders had started dumping their passes online, desperate to get something back. And while the scoreboard read Browns versus Vikings, the real story wasn't on the field. It was in the stands. Or rather, the lack of them. Billboards went up across the city with slogans like Dog Pound Reborn and Unfinished Business. Season ticket renewals spiked. Jerseys sold out. For once, fans believed. But when the games began, that dream dissolved faster than a snowflake in August. The innovative offense turned into a parade of predictable screens and safe checkdowns. The so-called aggressive strategy was replaced with a playbook built on fear. Week after week, the Browns looked like a team and right at the center of it all was one decision that snapped everything in half. Benching Shedeur Sanders, the rookie who electrified the preseason, who brought energy back to the stands, suddenly sidelined for development reasons. Fans didn't buy it. They'd watched him spark life into an entire franchise. And when he disappeared, so did the hope. Social media exploded. Radio lines flooded. People weren't arguing about stats anymore. They were talking about betrayal. Why should we show up if the Browns won't? One caller shouted on air. By the time the Vikings matchup arrived, the storm had already formed. The $6 tickets were just the symptom. The real disease was disillusionment. Years of broken promises and outdated coaching finally collided with a fan base that refused to settle anymore. Cleveland wasn't losing because of poor execution. They were losing the people who made football matter. And once fans walk away, it's never just about football again. Before the boycott, before the empty seats, there was electricity. It came from a single name, Shedeur Sanders, the rookie quarterback who didn't just play football. He revived it. Every snap he took in preseason felt like a jolt of energy through the franchise's tired veins. Fans packed the stadium just to see him warm up. Kids wore his jersey to school. Broadcasters called him Cleveland's spark plug. And for a brief moment, it seemed like the Browns had finally found something priceless: hope. When Sanders was on the field, the air felt different. The offense moved faster. The crowd roared louder. Even losses didn't sting as much because they believed they were witnessing the beginning of something special. It wasn't just about talent. It was about connection. He made fans feel again. And then, just like that, he was gone. When news broke that Sanders would be benched for development, it hit the fan base like a punch to the gut. Within hours, ticket resale sites crashed as prices free fell. $50 seats dropped to $20, then to $10. Then by game week, $6. Social media exploded. Hashtags like No Sanders No Show and Free Shedeur trended nationwide. Posts mocked the Browns management with memes comparing coffee prices to ticket costs. YouTubers dissected the disaster frame by frame, showing clips of empty stands and contrasting them with preseason sellouts. One viral tweet said it best: "You benched the only reason people cared." Even rival fan bases joined the conversation. Sports podcasts debated whether the Browns were committing marketing suicide. NFL analysts on national TV questioned how a single rookie could influence ticket sales, merchandise numbers, and TV ratings all at once. But the truth was undeniable. Shedeur Sanders wasn't just a player, he was the show. And when the team took him off the stage, the audience left with him. Cleveland didn't stop watching because they stopped caring. They stopped watching because the Browns stopped listening. On paper, Kevin Stefanski still looked like the calm, analytical coach who once guided Cleveland to playoff glory. But that was years ago, before the booze, before the headlines, and long before the $6 scandal. Now, the man pacing Cleveland's sideline looked different. Tight jaw, empty eyes, shoulders heavier with every step. Insiders said he spent pregame scanning the stands, watching entire sections sit deserted. "You could see it hit him," one staff member whispered. That wasn't low attendance. That was abandonment. Behind the scenes, tension had reached a breaking point. Assistants described him snapping at staff over headset malfunctions and substitutions. Equipment managers said he barked orders he'd never cared about before. Every small problem felt like a spark near gasoline. Stefanski wasn't just coaching under pressure. He was coaching under siege. Then came the post-game press conference, the moment everything imploded. When a reporter asked about the fan backlash over Shedeur Sanders benching, Stefanski smirked and said, "We make football decisions." In the locker room, players felt the heat too. "You could feel it," one veteran told reporters. He was fighting the world and trying not to show it. Some teammates defended their coach. Others quietly rolled their eyes, knowing public perception had already turned. What made it worse was Stefanski's refusal to bend. Instead of empathy, he doubled down. Same quarterback rotation, same conservative play calling, same icy tone. To fans, it looked like pride. To analysts, it looked like denial. And while the scoreboard showed another preseason loss, something far bigger was slipping away. Not just games, but faith, connection, and credibility. Because once a city decides you've stopped listening, no playbook can save you. When the seats emptied, the ripple didn't stop at the stadium gates. It tore straight through Cleveland's business engine. Overnight, the Browns went from a top 5 revenue draw to a franchise in free fall. The numbers were brutal. Merchandise sales plummeted, suite renewals froze, and sponsors started calling meetings instead of cutting checks. One marketing executive leaked a blunt line that spread across sports radio. You can't sell hope when no one believes the story anymore. The organization tried everything to plug the hole. Flash sale promotions, free parking, 2-for-1 ticket bundles, even family packages that threw in concession credits just to make attendance look respectable. But every initiative failed the same way. Fans didn't budge. It wasn't about discounts. It was about disappointment. Inside the front office, panic brewed. Owner Jimmy Haslam reportedly demanded emergency briefings from the sales department. General Manager Andrew Berry was caught between an owner obsessed with optics and a coach obsessed with control. Insiders said meetings grew tense, fingers pointing, voices raised, revenue charts glowing red. One staffer summarized it perfectly. We're paying the price of stubbornness. Local businesses that rely on game day traffic felt the aftershocks too. Bars near the stadium reported record low weekends. Street vendors stood beside unsold piles of orange foam fingers. The city that used to pulse with football weekends now felt quiet. Television networks noticed the collapse as well. Viewership cratered once Sanders' benching became public. Analysts called it the fastest ratings drop for a preseason game in modern NFL history. Even national sponsors began reevaluating partnerships, tying future contracts to player engagement metrics. Translation: if Sanders doesn't play, money walks. Cleveland's crisis was no longer about football decisions. It was about survival. The Browns weren't just losing fans. They were losing leverage, reputation, and millions in unrealized revenue. And behind the chaos sat Kevin Stefanski, calm on camera, storming off camera, as the walls of his franchise slowly closed in. Because in today's NFL, every empty seat costs more than money. It costs belief. It didn't take long for the ripple from Cleveland to reach the rest of the NFL. Within days, network executives, analysts, and rival coaches were all asking the same question. How could one rookie quarterback cause this much chaos? Ratings analysts confirmed what fans already knew. The moment Shedeur Sanders was benched, viewership collapsed. National broadcasts that once drew millions suddenly tanked to record lows. One insider admitted off-record, "We've never seen a single player's absence tank ratings like this. Not in preseason, not ever." Across the league, the Browns became a case study, not for play calling, but for marketing failure. Behind closed doors, owners whispered about the Cleveland problem, where business reality collided head-on with football tradition. In an era ruled by social media, viral clips, and player-driven fandom, old-school coaching philosophies suddenly looked ancient. Analysts started calling Stefanski the last analog coach in a digital league. Sports talk shows debated whether coaches should adapt to entertainment expectations or risk extinction. One commentator said it bluntly, "Stefanski isn't just losing games, he's losing relevance." Meanwhile, league executives watched with unease. They knew what was really at stake: revenue. If fans can abandon one franchise overnight, it could happen anywhere. The NFL isn't just a sport anymore. It's an empire built on engagement. Every empty seat in Cleveland was a warning shot fired across the entire league. Inside Cleveland's front office, staffers began hearing from the league office questions about ratings, about attendance, about optics. Cleveland had gone from a proud football town to a cautionary headline, and everyone was watching how they'd respond. And for Kevin Stefanski, that spotlight was blinding. His every decision was dissected, every press conference quoted, every hesitation turned into a meme. He wasn't just coaching for wins anymore. He was coaching for survival. Because in the modern NFL, relevance isn't earned by schemes or stats. It's earned by attention. And right now, Cleveland was losing both.